Hello and welcome to today's Telerik Platform release webcast. We're very excited that you've taken an hour of your day to come join us to see what's new and what we're doing inside the Telerik Platform, and we can't wait to get into all the new stuff and show it off today. Before we do that, just a few technical announcements. Whenever we gather a large number of people on the web, it's best to make this announcement up front. We had a few thousand people join us last week for the Kendo UI release webcast, and we expect another large crowd today. So if you have any audio or video problems, we're here in the Q&A chat log to try to help you with that through the live event. If you can't get it resolved, everything's being recorded. The recording will be on our YouTube channel immediately following the live event, so you can catch all the content today, and we'll apologize in advance if you have any trouble with the internet over the clogged tubes. Also, we'd love if you'd follow us on social media at Telerik on Twitter or Facebook.com/Telerik. That's where you'll be able to find out first and fastest who wins today's raffle prizes, as well as any of the other updates we're constantly making about the Telerik platform and what we're doing here at Telerik. And speaking of prizes, just by being here today, you are, of course, eligible for a number of prizes we're making available to live attendees of today's webcast, including a MacBook Air, a Surface Pro 3, a number of different devices, an iPhone 6 Plus, the big one, the iPad Air, and, of course, the brand new Google Nexus 9 tablet, as well as 20 complimentary subscriptions to the Telerik Platform Professional Edition. And of course, there are rules and restrictions. You can find them all on our website. The lawyers obviously want me to share that with you, but good luck to all of you winning those various raffle prizes by being here today. And one additional prize we're giving away today, if you stick around to the very end, we are awarding an additional prize to the most interesting Q&A question during our live Q&A session, either a GoPro camera or your choice of an Apple Store or Google Play $500 gift card. So think about those questions throughout today's webcast. If you have any burning questions, be sure to log them in the Q&A manager when you have them, and we'll review them all at the end of today's webcast, try to answer a lot of them live, and of course, a lot of people are on today trying to help answer those throughout the broadcast as well. My name is Todd Anglin, and I'm EVP for Product Strategy here at Telerik, and if you've not followed me on social media, if you want to ask me questions, you can find me at Todd Anglin on Twitter. I will be your initial MC for today's event, but I'll be inviting a number of other people onto the stage today to really walk you through what's new, what's going on the Telerik platform, and even sneak peek for you some of what's coming next. And so we'll be inviting them to the stage soon. Before doing that, I just wanted to clarify a few things as we get into today's announcements. Telerik Platform is a very large thing for us that's constantly shipping new features and new functionality. In fact, what we think of as Telerik Platform is a lot of different modules that are continuously being delivered and continuously delivering new value to you directly in the platform for things like App Builder for building your apps, your analytics services, always constantly improving. So while we have today's release webcast, the reality is we've been releasing all year long, continually delivering new improvements to you. And the best way to find those notifications or find those new things when they happen is directly in the platform. You'll find a little bell icon where we deliver in-product notifications. And anytime we ship a new release or a new update to any of the modules that are part of the Telerik platform, you can find that right there. So be sure to pay attention to that to get the immediate updates when we ship something new. From the outset with Telerik Platform, we really wanted to do two things just to set the stage for today's announcements. The first thing, of course, was to simplify cross-platform mobile app development. When mobile development became part of all of our realities, this really became the picture we had to deal with. We had multiple SDKs, we had the iOS, Android, Windows, even our web work, and then to do development for apps for those different SDKs, it often meant that we had to set up and configure multiple workstations, an OS X workstation for iOS apps, a Windows workstation perhaps for Windows Phone apps or our web apps. And we spent a lot of time managing and installing and downloading SDKs. And we thought there could be a much better way to deal with this complexity going forward because the problem's only getting worse. And that's really what we aim to do with the Telerik platform. The Telerik platform uses the power of the cloud and our servers to abstract from you all that heavy lifting, the SDK installation, updating, and all that configuration stuff that wastes your time so you can spend more time actually building your apps. And that's really fundamentally what we do special in the Telerik platform. We also recognize at the same time mobile apps has disrupted a lot of how we go about traditionally building software, not just the simple stuff like how we build apps. And so Telerik Platform aims to look across that entire process of how you need to work to build and deliver a mobile app, all the way from the initial design to the, of course, build process, debugging, all those sorts of things, testing those apps, connecting them to your data, deploying those apps out to your users, to your testers, and then, of course, managing those apps once they're out in the public, learning how they're being used with your analytics. And the Telerik platform not only simplifies that with the cloud, but addresses the full end-to-end scope of that. So you really have a truly one-stop shop for doing all of your mobile app development. The other thing we want to do from the outset with the Telerik platform is help turn web skills into mobile apps. And if you look across the last 30 years of software development, you can really find three distinct eras. In the 90s, it was the distinct era of the desktop or even the database line of business app, really built for single PC deployments. And then over the last decade of the 2000s, we had the era of the web line of business app. And here we want to target any PC and leverage the power of the web to help us reach that. And then today, of course, we're in the mobile line of business app, building apps that target any screen, not just the traditional desktop PCs. And along with each of these eras, you can find languages that were also very popular driving that era, from the VB and FoxPro of the 90s, of course, .NET and Java in the 2000s. And when you look at the mobile era, the language which is really driving innovation forward and where a lot of people focused and invested is JavaScript. And as a result, we spent a lot of time leveraging JavaScript and open source standards-based languages to really power the platform. So you don't get locked into proprietary technologies, so you can leverage the best of what the community and the industry is pulling together to build apps. Today, you can find that with our dependency on Apache Cordova, what a lot of people know as PhoneGap, inside of App Builder, and how we build your apps leveraging the Cordova framework. And of course, you use JavaScript for your logic language and HTML and CSS for your views, and the nature of a hybrid or a Cordova app is that it renders in a web view. It uses web UI technology. And something we're very excited about that we've been working on for the last 18 months, 2 years in Telerik, that will be shipping next year, and you can join the private beta now if you contact us, something called NativeScript. And NativeScript also leverages JavaScript for building your application's logic. In fact, it could reuse a lot of what you potentially built today in a hybrid app. But then it leverages a new markup language and, as much as we can, CSS to produce a native UI. So rather than rendering in a web view, it does render native UI widgets, native UI components on the various platforms. And both of these together give you a lot of options, a lot of power in the Telerik platform when you sit down to build your next app. And people have been building a lot of apps this year, and we've been really pleased with the success of the platform up to this point. Telerik Platform is the fastest growing new product in Telerik history, and we couldn't be more pleased with seeing the things you guys are building and the push you're giving us to build a better platform to build even more powerful apps. In fact, we want everyone to get in on this, and so we have a special program running right now to give you essentially a gift card for installing an app. Run a hybrid app, get an Amazon.com gift card, and this is a way to further incentivize you to go check it out. Take a few minutes out of your day, install or start a Telerik Platform trial, install this app on your device, run the app, and from within the app you can access your ability to receive one of these gift cards. The fastest way to get there is this bit.ly link in your browsers. Navigate to bit.ly/TelerikGift. That will take you to the landing page where you can join this and figure out the steps necessary. And of course, asterisk, lawyers apply. There are some limits and restrictions. Check it out at that link, though, and you'll find it all in the Dynissimo app, which we want you to install and have a good time with. But enough of the introduction. We've got a lot of great stuff we've shipped, and we're shipping right now in December as well. And so to take us further into today's webcast, let me invite to the digital stage Brandon Satrom, Director of Product Management here at Telerik, working on Telerik Platform. And Brandon will take us into the next section of today's webcast, and I'll come back at the very end to wrap things up. So Brandon, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Todd. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And thanks again for joining us for this Telerik Platform event. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Now, we've delivered a lot of great stuff in the platform over the last few months. And while we don't have time to cover every single new feature across all of our tools and services, we are going to highlight a lot of different things today. We'll talk about a few big items in our testing suite, in App Builder, and something in backend services with push notifications. But before we get to all that, I did want to take some time to cover some of the highlights, some other things from the last few months that really are notable. So those are responsive images supported in backend services, analytics dashboards, and NativeScript. Now first, responsive images. Now, as of today, images make up about 62% of the weight of the entire web, according to the Internet Archive. Now on desktops, this may not matter much to many of us, but on mobile it matters a great deal. And the fact is that many mobile websites and apps do little to nothing other than view time resizing of images. So what this means is that your users are paying more to use your app or site in terms of network speed and cost against their data plans than they should have to, than they absolutely need to. Now, with the new responsive images feature in Telerik Backend Services, developers can offload the work of delivering right-sized images to the right devices to Telerik Backend Services. So all you need is a single high-quality image, and the Telerik platform takes care of the rest, delivering optimized images on demand for a wide array of mobile sites and apps. Now, next up, for fans of analytics, we've introduced custom analytics dashboards so that you can easily surface and view the most important data related to your apps. Not only can you create dashboards and position default data in those dashboards to your liking, but you can create your own dashboard widgets with the data and the filters that you care about, the things that matter most to your app and the goals you're trying to accomplish. Now, to check it out, head over to any analytics project and click the Dashboards menu. Finally, this is one that I'm pretty excited about. We've made some major updates to NativeScript. If you're not yet familiar, NativeScript is the mobile app development framework that allows you to build fully native cross-platform apps with JavaScript. Last month, we announced the second and third preview releases of NativeScript, which includes features like a fully featured command line interface, cross-platform layout engine in JavaScript, support for CSS styling of native app UI, and third-party library support for iOS, with Android coming very soon. NativeScript will be released open source next year and will be fully supported in the platform, from App Builder to analytics, backend services, and more. The project is still in a private beta, but there's time. There's time for you to jump in. If you're interested in being a part of our private beta group, visit this URL here on the slide below and let us know if you're interested in being a beta tester. And keep an eye out for additional announcements and for our formal open source beta and release early next year. Now, for the rest of our time today, we're going to dive deeper into some of the great new platform features that you'll find invaluable as you develop, test, debug, and deploy your apps. First, Dan Levy, PM for Test Studio and Mobile Testing, will share an exciting new feature that will enable you to test your apps on real physical devices. And the best part is that you don't have to build your own device wall in order to do it. Pretty exciting. Next up, Rob Lauer, PM for App Builder and App Manager, will share more about some of the great new features in App Builder that will help you access device APIs and debug your apps during development. Finally, I'll jump back in to share some of the great improvements that we've made to our push notification support in the Telerik platform. All right, let's take a look at device testing in the cloud. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Brandon. Welcome. Again, my name is Daniel Levy, and I'm a product manager for mobile testing and Test Studio here at Telerik. I've been called on today to spend a few minutes talking about the new functionality that we've added into mobile testing. The new functionality we've designed around a few key concepts. One, of course, is productivity. We always want to create tooling that makes you more productive. And what we've done with mobile testing is we've integrated directly into the App Builder IDE. This allows you to create a mobile testing project with a simple click of the mouse and to house all your tests alongside your app. Just like working within App Builder, you'll be able to commit files into source control and get files and so on. The next key problem area that we'll address is device fragmentation. Many of the customers that I've spoke with over the years seem to have a few devices that they consider to be their key devices for test automation, or for testing in general. And any app that's developed gets tested on those devices. As new devices come out and become popular, new devices are purchased and set up within their test environment and become part of their routine. But the massive number of devices that are out there is growing every day. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of devices. Android is fragmented and iOS is becoming increasingly fragmented. So we've got a great solution to this problem, and it's called the Telerik Device Cloud. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek tour of the beta bits today. Lastly, you need the ability to pinpoint problems. So we've got device fragmentation addressed, we've boosted your productivity, and we want to help you easily pinpoint problems. And we've got new reporting complete with screenshots that's available in a new test portal that glues our entire solution together conveniently within the platform. These are the key pieces of the beta release that I'll be highlighting today. So here we are within the platform, and I've already got an app builder project called Friends Created. We'll go into that project, and you'll notice our project navigator on the right hand side looks the same. However, there's new functionality. When you right click, you'll see an option to add a mobile testing project. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And that simply adds the project and my first mobile testing suite 1 sample.js file. So I'm just going to go ahead and rename this file, and we're going to call this our friend's test. And we'll click to open it. And rather than sit here and take the time to actually write a test out, I'm going to go in and remove the sample code that we provide with the template and paste in a real test and click on save. So as you scroll up, you'll see this is all written with our JavaScript testing framework. And as you scroll down, you'll actually see where the test list is defined, as well as each test and the steps for the test. And of course, all the actions are up top here, you can see. So without getting too much into the framework itself, we do have other material available to get you familiar with our framework if you haven't yet taken a look. I really want to focus on the integration piece. So you'll see here we've got that second project that it's created. We've got our one test. We need to commit that test into source control. So we'll simply right click just as you would with anything else within App Builder and commit. And we've got our friend's test, and we'll go ahead and commit that. Okay. Coming back into App Builder, there's just a couple things I'll point out. One is if you go into your properties and you go to your plugins, you'll scroll down. Under other plugins, you'll see we've automatically hooked in our mobile testing plugin. And if you expand this, this is where your configuration variables are for iOS. Okay. Good. So we'll go ahead and close out of this, and we're good to go. We've got our test, we're saved, we're committed, and we're going to go ahead and click out of App Builder. So the next thing that I'd like to point out is a new link that's located up top called our test portal. And as I mentioned earlier, our test portal is the piece that glues everything together. This is where you have your entire history of test runs. It's where you can actually create a new test run, and it's where you can view detailed reporting. We'll go ahead and click into the test portal. So within the test portal, there are three main sections: test runs, projects, and device lists. So we'll take a quick tour through each of these sections. First up is device lists. When you click into device lists, this is talking about our device cloud. Access to over 350 devices in the cloud at your fingertips to execute your tests on. To create your own personal device list, simply create device list, give it a name, and for this demo, we're just going to call this my friend's app nightly run. And these are the devices that I'll use in my nightly run. So we'll go ahead and check that off, and we'll edit this list. I'm going to keep this pretty simple for the purposes of this demo. So we'll go ahead and search for a couple devices. First, let's look for a Motorola. And I guess we'll do a Razer. Oops, Razer. And we'll do this XT890. And you can just kind of, I have my screen resolution reduced a little bit for this demo. So there's that one. And why don't we add a Samsung? And we'll do the Nexus. We'll do the Nexus S here. We'll check that off and add that selected. So over here on the right hand side, you can see these are the devices that I have in that list. and this is my search mechanism using all these filters over here on the left-hand side, and we'll be expanding on these filters obviously as time goes by. You can create a single device list that's made up of both Android and iOS tests. So you don't have to have one list for Android and one list for iOS. And you can see some of the iOS devices that we have available here, and you can filter based on version. But again, access to over 350 devices through Telerik's Device Cloud. So we've got our list created, and we'll click on Save Changes. And the next thing we want to do is create a test run. And to do so, we click on our test runs. And this is going to show you a history of all the tests that have run, combined with the ability to allow you to create a new test run. We'll go ahead and click Create Run. And the creation of the test run is looking at all the applications you have within your project. So we're taking a look, what do you have defined as a hybrid app within App Builder? Right now we only have our Friends app, so we'll go ahead and select our Friends app. And we're actually going to pull in the test list that is associated with that particular test. Of course, if you remember, when I pasted in that test within App Builder, there was a test list and multiple tests. That all gets pulled in automatically. So when we're talking about submitting a run to the device cloud, you don't have to upload your application. You don't have to hook in your mobile testing plugin or API keys. You don't have to load up the APK files. There's nothing that you need to do. It's all seamless. You come in here, you select the application under test, you select the tests that you'd like included, and then you select your device list that we've created, which is our Friends app nightly run. So from here, there's really only one other option, and that option is our our device timeout. And the device timeout is all about what if there was a problem with your test, and for some reason the device locked up. You don't want that device to be unavailable for anyone else during that time. So what you're doing is you're setting a maximum amount of time per test to execute against that device. So we'll keep this at 5 minutes here, and we'll go ahead and submit. Now, of course, if you're setting a maximum timeout of 10 minutes and you've got 100 devices and 50 tests, well, of course, we do some math there, and we make sure that you have enough time within your Telerik account, enough device minutes within your account to execute that worst case scenario. See, so we'll go ahead and click on Submit, and we'll just do a couple things here. You can see that we're building the Android package. Obviously, I'm only running this against Android right now. And while this is building and getting all ready to go, it's important to note that we have a free device list. And the free device list is available to every single platform user, whether you're in a trial account, starter account, developer, professional, business, enterprise. All package levels have access to our free devices. And for our platform trial, starter, and our developers, you get 15 minutes of device cloud time against this free device list. And of course, for our professional, business, and enterprise customers, to start for this beta, we're giving 60 minutes per month of device cloud access time. And it's not just against the free device list, it's against all the devices that we have within our device cloud. So access to all 350 accounts. So if you're in our professional, business, or enterprise platform subscription, you just got a huge value add added into your account. And if you're interested in accessing more of the device cloud and you want to upgrade, you can, of course, speak to your account executive about that too. So you can see here we are just about there. We're publishing our specs or our test right now. Just give it another minute. Okay, I think we're good. It's executing that test run. So of course that test run might take a bit to execute. It's important to not expect that the test will execute immediately, but you can always come into your test runs and you can see that the test is pending. Now, rather than sit here and wait, I've got a limited amount of time to show you all this good stuff. So rather than sit here and wait, I'll actually click into the results of one of our previous test runs. and we'll go into view details of any particular test. So you can see I had all passes here, but we're going to jump into view details, and we're going to get a little bit more information about this particular test. So let's expand, and again, my screen resolution's a little on the tight side here, but you can see what I'm showing is the test step and the operation here. So this icon indicates the test step and the operation. And as I click on any particular operation, we actually have pulled back a screenshot from the on-device execution. So imagine if you've executed this against 100 different devices, you'll see a screenshot pulled back from our device cloud of all 100 devices for every single operation within your test. Now, just because the test passed doesn't necessarily mean that there's not some sort of other problem. And this is a tremendous way for you to pinpoint UI issues. For example, your functional test passed. You entered your username, you entered your password, you clicked login, and your functional test passed. But what happens if something just doesn't look right on one particular device? This is a tremendous way to come in and find that out. Of course, you have filtering up at the top, so you can filter out only show you failed, only showed passed, tests, and so on. And you get detailed failure information over here on the right hand side of the screen. So that's just a quick glimpse at our reporting. There's a couple other things that I wanted to point out. One is if we come back into test runs, and I'm sorry for rushing, we're very tight on time for this webinar and there's so much to show. So I'm back in on test runs. When you create a new test run, we showed you cloud devices. However, for those of you that have your own devices hooked up, we actually created new functionality that allows you to have your devices connected via the cloud. So if you have some devices sitting on your desktop and you've downloaded the Telerik Mobile Testing Companion application from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, so you can actually click Connected Device. You'll have a QR code that is displayed on the screen. So then from within your companion application on your device, you scan that QR code. And as soon as you scan that QR code, you connect up here to our cloud, so that when you submit your test run, you're actually not submitting it against our cloud devices, but against your physical devices. And there's absolutely nothing that you have to download beyond the companion app to do this. So this is new functionality. Previously, you had to download the Node.js applications from within the download section of the Telerik platform. So this is tremendous new functionality. So that's about it on the demo front. The next thing I'd like to do is jump back into our slides and talk a little bit about what's next for mobile testing. So in early 2015, we've got some tremendous things planned. Enhanced gesture support for the actual core framework. We want the core framework to be the most useful mobile testing framework available, and by adding some enhanced gesture support for Android, iOS, and web, it will be just that. We'll be incorporating JavaScript wrappers for native script, and a mobile testing plugin is going to be available via the Telerik Marketplace. We should have that in December. Device Cloud minute bundles are going to become available, so if you want to use beyond the 60 minutes that are included with professional, business, and enterprise accounts, you'll be able to actually buy minute bundle packs. We'll introduce Device Cloud for native applications, so for those of you that are not using App Builder to create your apps, you'll actually be able to leverage our mobile testing and Device Cloud for those apps. And of course, a richer App Builder integration and experience. We've got this piece called the Test Navigator that's going to come into play, and actual execution within the App Builder simulator of your tests. So allow you to make sure that your tests are working just fine before you send them off to the Device Cloud. We've got a lot more planned. We're going to go pretty deep into continuous integration as well in 2015 and get that up and going with the Device Cloud. So there's a lot that we have in the works. This is only the early part of the year, probably through February, March timeframe that we've got listed here. So hey, thank you so much for your time. Sorry, I think I probably burned the most amount of time of everyone on this webinar, so I'm going to send it over to you, Rob.
Thanks, Dan, and welcome everyone to our webinar. Again, my name is Rob Lauer, and I'm a product manager here at Telerik, and I have the privilege of answering the question, what's new in App Builder? Well, the answer is a lot, and I'm going to give you a whirlwind tour of some of the most exciting recent additions to App Builder. I've also got some new news to share regarding our next App Builder release, which will be here in just a couple of weeks. So let me hop over first to the App Builder extension for Visual Studio to show off some features. Okay, so one feature we've been working hard on behind the scenes for a couple months now is our device simulator. Now we're constantly striving to improve the simulator, and you'll be seeing the fruits of our labor in coming releases. We did recently add the ability to take a screenshot from within the simulator, which you can save as a PNG file. We also added a more touch-aware cursor, which is that circular cursor you see. You may have also noticed that we added device sizes for the new iPhone 6 and 6 Plus devices. We also have simulation support for iOS 8. Now, did you know that you can also create your own custom devices? We have exposed the ability to edit your list of simulated devices in the custom device definitions.json file. Now this is located on your machine in the local app data /Telerik/BlackDragon directory. And this is available with our Windows client, Visual Studio extension, and our CLI. And you can see here how we've appended a new device definition to this file. In this case, we have a Nexus 7 and a Nexus 10. And you can change fields like screen width and height, user agent, and so on, so you can add any number of custom devices that you'd like. Now, our simulator will continue to improve as we add features like pixel density simulation, multi-touch gestures, and an easier way to edit and save these custom devices. Now, our device simulator is great, but we all know that simulation can only take you so far. That's why we introduced the ability to run your app on any native emulators you have installed, which gives you access to virtually any device out there. Now, I'm going to hop over to our native Windows client, and I happen to have a Genymotion Android emulator running here, which I highly recommend for performant Android emulation. Now, I can tell App Builder to run my app on the emulator using the menu command provided. And you can, of course, use any other Android emulator you have installed, like any of the stock Android emulators. You can also use any installed Windows Phone emulator or any iOS emulators as well. And yes, we do even support running your app on the iOS simulator on your Mac, and you can access that emulator from Windows as well. Now, the other cool thing about our native emulation is that you can also debug on the emulator, in Android for instance, if it's running Android 4.4 or greater. If you attended our last webinar, you know that we talked a bit about our new package manager. At the time, the package manager was focused on easily updating versions of Kendo UI, but now we've actually expanded it to include access to Bower and our verified Cordova plugins marketplace. So I'm going to switch over now to our in-browser client to show you the latest in the package manager. Now, we've expanded the package manager to now include Bower, and this is extremely useful if you're looking for a way to easily discover and install a variety of third-party libraries and frameworks. We've also tapped into our verified plugins marketplace, which is our curated list of verified Cordova plugins to help you extend your app and take advantage of more native device features. Now, you can learn more about the plugins marketplace at plugins.telerik.com. Now, I wanted to mention briefly our support for iOS 8. We offered day one compatibility with iOS 8 by making sure all of our bits were completely functional when you upgraded your iOS devices. Of course, we haven't stopped there. Aside from providing updated versions of Cordova in the next release, we already shipped a new version of our companion app for iOS and are actively updating our build servers to make sure you can take advantage of what's new in the latest iOS SDK. But now let's talk about development environments. You know we like to provide developers with choices, which is why we have an in-browser client, a native Windows client, an extension for Visual Studio, a Sublime text package, and a command line interface. And it's this last piece that I'd like to show off a little bit, our command line interface. Compatible with Mac, Windows, and Linux, our CLI is for our more advanced users who want to integrate the App Builder services into their existing development workflow. You can use it with any IDE you like, and I'm going to show you how quickly you can get started with it. Okay, So with the command prompt open, I can run npm install-g appbuilder to install appbuilder locally. And again, the CLI is compatible with Mac, Windows, and Linux. Now, I already have the CLI installed, so I'm going to skip this step and instead go ahead and create a new app by running appbuilder create hybrid hello world. Now I can navigate to this new directory, and I can run appbuilder simulate to execute this app inside of our familiar device simulator. Now inside the simulator, you can see that this app is using a Kendo UI template, but that can be changed using the -- template flag when creating a project. Of course, since we're in the simulator, we can leverage the debugging tools, as well as switch between devices. Now the CLI experience doesn't end there. You can also use your AppBuilder companion apps and run your apps on physical hardware using the AppBuilder LiveSync command, along with the platform name. You can also include the watch option as well to automatically update your app with any code changes. With the CLI, you can also view and clone all of the available sample apps that we provide to get you started even quicker. And how about plugins? Yes, you can install Cordova plugins with the AppBuilder plugin fetch command. Finally, if you ever get stuck, be sure to run AppBuilder help to get a comprehensive list of help topics. Virtually anything you can do with our visual IDEs is represented here in our command line interface. Now, I've shown you a lot, but the last thing I want to show off is our new support for build configurations in our AppBuilder clients. And when developing an app, you might have multiple build configurations that may use different plugins, plugin variables, or JavaScript variables, depending on the environment. That's why we've created a dead simple way for you to manage all of these in our clients across debug and release configurations. Alright, to manage JavaScript variables, simply add an app settings file to your project. This will create an appsettings.release.json and appsettings.debug.json file. Now, when you create a release build, only the released JSON files will be included in your app. Likewise, when you create a debug build, only the debug JSON files will be included. So you can keep all of your environment-specific JavaScript variables in these files. And if you're asking yourself, why would I ever use this? Well, imagine a situation where you're managing separate API keys for your debug versus release builds. These keys can be managed here, along with any other JavaScript variables you may need in your app. Now, to manage plugins and plugin variables, we simply have to navigate to the plugin configuration page. And you'll see that we can enable or disable plugins based on the build configuration. And I apologize for the screen size being so small here. And it's important to note too that certain plugins, such as our mobile testing plugin, will now be automatically disabled when you create a build in release mode. So when plugin variables are required, you may also enter them here based on build configuration as well. Now, this is only the first step of this feature. As you'll see in future releases, we'll continue to make it easier to manage plugin variables, build steps, asset minification, and so on. Alright, so what's next for AppBuilder? Well, I'm glad you asked. Our next version of AppBuilder, which drops in a couple weeks or so, is going to bring us the latest versions of Cordova, as I mentioned earlier. We're also going to have Xcode 6 build support. And we're bringing you iOS WK WebView support via a new Cordova plugin. Now this is going to bring amazing performance improvements for your iOS hybrid apps. We're also going to have simulator enhancements. And last but certainly not least, support for static mobile website development and publishing. Now this is an exciting release for sure, and we'll have even more details for you in the coming weeks. Alright, that's it for me. Thanks again everyone for watching, and I'm going to send it back to you, Brandon.
Thanks, Rob. That was great. Now, so far, we've shown off some great new features in the Telerik platform, core to your development and testing experience. With the continued growth of AppBuilder and exciting new capabilities like the Telerik Device Cloud, we're providing you with even more tools that can take you straight into the app stores with confidence and a rock-solid user experience. Of course, the Telerik platform is about more than just tools and services that help you get your app built, tested, and published. We also want to make sure that you have everything you need to manage your published apps, from crash reports and app analytics to user management and even in-app feedback. In this vein, we spent a lot of time recently building better resources and tooling around one of the most valuable yet challenging aspects of mobile app development, push notifications. Now today I'm excited to announce that we've added some new features to backend services that will help make push notifications better than ever, including dynamic layouts for your backend services dashboards so that you can focus on the features that you care about in your apps, a fully featured Telerik Push Cordova plugin that makes it even easier to get started with push in the platform, updated documentation, and finally a simplified JavaScript SDK so that when you're getting started with push it's even simpler and there's even less work for you to do as a developer in your apps. But enough talk. Let's actually take a look at some of these new features in action. And for those of you who have never seen push notifications in the platform up close, you'll find this interesting as well. It'll serve as a bit of an intro, even if you haven't ever actually seen push before. So let's go ahead and switch over to the demo. All right, so first I'm going to head into an existing workspace that I've created for one of my apps, an app that provides a simple list of awesome JavaScript books, right? It's a very useful thing for anyone to have. You can look at favorites. You can look at individual books, order them online, etc., etc. So pretty fancy, pretty exciting little app. So inside of my workspace, I'm going to go back to my workspace level. I'm going to create a new backend services project. So far, same as what you've experienced before. And let's call this Great Books Push. Click Create Project. And then once created, I'm going to go through and customize it so that I only use push notifications. So if you've ever used backend services before, you're going to notice a bit of a difference here. And as I mentioned earlier, we've streamlined backend services so that you can focus only on those app services that you care about. And this, the screen you see in front of you, is the result. So now when I create a project, I can choose what I want to use, whether it's data or user management, push notifications, data connectors, really anything. So in this case, I'll add push notifications to my project, and you'll notice that I've got some of the left nav UI for that. That's great. And I can always come back later and add or enable additional services, but you'll notice that this UI is simplified since I'm only using push for this app. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head into the settings section because I want to actually enable push notifications for this app for iOS. And I'm going to grab some certificates here. So I have some certificates that I've already created ahead of time. And so there's documentation online to actually walk through the process of creating these certs or getting your API key for Android. But in this case, for the sake of simplicity, I'll add these certs that I already have. And add my key password. And my development certificate as well. Nope. And there we go. I'm going to set that as active. Click Save. Great. So now that I got everything configured, and at this point then I'm going to go back, and before I go back into my code I need to grab my API key because I'm going to need that. So let me copy that key. Now let me go back to my dashboard or to my workspace, and I'll go into my code now, into the app itself. And now that since I've got the key, the first thing I need to do is actually save that key to a place that I'm going to use it. In this case it's a settings.javascript file that I use for my app. Let me go ahead and pump up the code here, or the code size here just a little bit so you can see what's going on. So now that I've got that key, I'm going to actually need to open up the package manager for backend services, for App Builder itself, so that I can pull in the Everlive SDK, or the backend services SDK, listed in Bower as Everlive. So I'll find this by searching, and you'll notice that, let me go back into this really quickly, but I right-clicked on the app itself and clicked on Manage Packages, and here I can pull in versions of Kendo UI, Bower, or our plugins marketplace if you haven't seen that before. So it's a nice little useful recent addition in App Builder. I'm going to install the EverLive package, which is the Backend Services SDK. So now that I've got that, that shows up here under this Bower Components folder. So now that I've got that, I can go into my HTML, into my main page for the app, and I'll copy in the Bower, the link to the Backend Services SDK via Bower. And so then the next thing I'm going to do now that I've got that is I need to add the push notifications plugin from the marketplace. So here I'll go back into the package manager and right click on App, Manage Packages. And here I'll click on the Plugins Marketplace tab. I'll search for Push. I see Telerik Push Notification. I'll click Install. That'll install that in my app for me. So now that I've got that, I've got the Backend Services SDK, I've got the push notifications plugin all activated and ready to go. So now I need to figure out how to actually start with push in my app, right? How to actually register an individual device for push. So I'll do that by exploring another new feature that I mentioned today, which is our new documentation for backend services. So I've gone to docs.telerik.com, clicked on the platform link, and now I'll go into the backend services documentation, jump straight into getting started, push notifications, and then integrating in a hybrid app. And here are all the instructions that you need, some of which I've jumped over for the purposes of this demo, but this is really everything you need start to finish to get push working in your app, including some of the prerequisites that I didn't talk about. So in this case, configuring iOS push notifications, getting iOS connected to App Builder, same thing for Android. So if you're starting with push, this is the place to go and look at those resources so that you can find the right place to grab your keys and get your certificates and all that fun stuff that needs to happen for iOS and Android. And then from there, you enable the push plugin, include backend services. We've done those two things already. And then step 3 is really where the meat is. It instructs you to add a global notification handler, which is actually already in our app. And then you do some specific settings to set some device settings for iOS and Android, specify your callback. And then the real important piece here is registering the device for push, and then on and on. So I don't want to give away the plot too much since we'll be going through this, but this is the place to go if you're going and starting with push. So I know what I need to do now. I can actually go back into my app now, and I'll open up the main app.js file. I'll uncomment this little section here that initializes the backend services SDK. And then where I'm going to put the meat of this, my registration code for push notifications is actually going to be inside of the on-device ready portion of this, of my app. So let me copy that code in here really quickly. And very similar to the documentation, I set some device push settings, iOS only in this case. I specified my notification callback, which is on push notification received. That's actually up here. It's very simple. I'm just alerting out the value that I get back. And then I'm calling app everlive push.register, sending in those settings, and then specifying a success handler, a success callback, and a failure callback. And that's really it. That is the meat of what I need to do to actually get push notifications set up for client for actual app registration. So from this point now, I can go and build my app. And I'm going to take an app package. I'm going to essentially sideload the app on my device. So I'll click Run, Build, click on App Package. Go to Next. I have my certificates all provisioned, all ready to go. So I'll click Next and I'll wait for this to build. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to click Download, specify location for it to be saved. And it's downloading here. It'll take a few seconds. And while that's happening, I will get some things ready to go. Looks like it is just about done. So now I will open up iTunes so that I can sideload that here. Drag the IPA file, the actual app binary in here. Go over to my phone. Find the app among all of these other wonderful apps that I have installed. Click on install. And then while that is syncing over to my phone, let's go ahead and I'll show you my phone. I'll go ahead and just mirror that onto the screen here so everybody can see Brandon's phone. Oh, very exciting. So I've got my app here. Got things running here. Let me expand this here a little bit to kind of get things set up for the actual push portion of the demo. So I'm going to go ahead and run the app now. Trust that I do trust myself as an app developer. And then my registration code should be running at this point. Okay, great. So I got a little alert. Probably not something that I would show in production, but as a dev, so I know registration was successful. That's great. So the device is now ready to go, ready to receive push notifications. So what does that mean now? For me, as the developer of the app, I can go back into my backend services project. I can take a look at individual devices, and at this point, I should actually see, great, okay, so my device, the device that I just registered, is showing up here in the list. That's perfect. So everything is working so far. And at this point, I can actually send a push notification. So I'll go into the push browser setting. I'll add a push notification. In this case, I'll send one just to iOS. Make sure my phone doesn't go fall asleep. And let's go ahead and add a very, very specific customized message. Not to be too creepy or anything, but this will be perfect for the demo. We'll say, hello, Brandon, you look nice today. And I really do, so I appreciate the thought. So send to everyone, send now. I can set expiration on those as well. All right, I see I'm going to send this to one device. I'll click send, and in a moment or two or three, this will show up here on the device. So that is push inside of the app, right? So the app is running. I receive a push notification that shows up here. But let me go ahead and exit the app, and I'm just going to go back on my home screen now, and I'll set up another push notification. Again, platform specific. And in this case, I'm going to say, please don't go. Send now. And again, you should see that now pop up as an iOS notification, the nice little banners that show up at the top of the screen. And that's it. And so then at this point now, I can check out the status of my of the pushes as they're sent here. As I mentioned earlier, we'll have push notification logs coming very soon, which is really exciting. But this is it, right? So if you haven't seen push notifications before, hopefully you'll see now that there really isn't a lot of magic to getting it set up. This is really exciting. And if you had, hopefully you've seen some of the things that we've done to simplify that experience, which is pretty exciting. Pretty awesome, right? And in addition to the features that I just showed you, we're planning to ship some additional push goodies by the end of the year, including troubleshooting logs so that you can see the status of your pushes or where they ended up, no more guessing or hoping that pushes will arrive, and interactive notification support for iOS 8 and for Android. All told, push is getting a whole lot better and a whole lot easier with the Telerik platform. If you're already working on an app and you're interested in integrating push notifications to keep your users engaged with your app, we'd love for you to head on over to Backend Services and check out the new features today. Now, I don't know about you, but it's exciting to see how far the Telerik platform has come since our initial launch in February this year. From day one, our goal has been to create a developer-focused set of tools and services that are powerful, focused, and delightful for you to use. To that end, I'm pleased to announce Screen Builder, a brand new feature of the Telerik platform and app builder that'll be coming in early 2015. If you're anything like me, Nothing kills my excitement for getting started with a new app like having to manually build out new screens, add authentication providers, connect to backend data, and wire up services like analytics and app feedback. As a mobile developer, I would love nothing more than a tool that helps me generate and wire up key foundational pieces of my app so that I can get back to the fun part of building out the core aspects of the app itself. If this is you, I think you're gonna love Screen Builder. In fact, I'll even pull a George Zimmer on you and guarantee it. Now, Screen Builder is under active development and will be available to the public early next year. But for you all here today, my closest friends, I have 2 tidbits to share. First, I want to show you a sneak peek of how the UI for this new feature is coming along. Now, what I'm about to show you is a prototype, but the final UI and experience will be very, very close to what you see here. But you are going to be seeing high-fidelity prototypes and mock-ups as opposed to interactive live screens. So let's go ahead and switch over to that demo now. It's important to note that Screen Builder is not a new product in the platform. Rather, it's a new path for getting started with a new app. In addition to starting with a blank app, a template for cloning a sample app, you'll be able to start with Screen Builder to visually build up and generate your app from the start. So once you've opened Screen Builder, you're presented with a series of view templates that you can add to your app, from authentication screens to forms, lists, charts, and more. If you're looking to implement a common mobile app pattern in your app, chances are we already have it in the box. Once you've selected a view, you'll be presented with a detail screen with options for customizing that view. In this example, I've added a sign-in screen and I want to add a text label, username and password field, a confirmation button, and a registration link at the bottom of the screen. Adding a registration link automatically adds a registration view for me as well, and we'll wire it up from the link when I finish building out my app and move into App Builder. Now let's add a new screen with a data list. When adding a view or component that requires a data source, Screen Builder will help you quickly create data sources, be they in Telerik backend services, another provider, or even a REST endpoint, and wire those up to mobile widgets. So in this case, I want to add Parse as my backend data provider. I'll add it to the screen, and once I've chosen it, I can then set the specific table or content type that I want to use, and then bind the individual pieces, the individual fields in that content type on the image field in the list view, the heading text, and the subheading text, and beyond. It's really simple for me to bind to backend data using Screen Builder. Finally, Screen Builder can help you get started with other platform services with just a few clicks. In this case, I want to ensure that users can provide feedback as they use my app, so I'm selecting the app feedback integration and using the wizard to configure a few specific options. Once I've created my screens, connected to data and wired up services, I'm ready to generate my app and fine-tune things in App Builder. What's more, if I realize at any point that I need to step back into Screen Builder to add another screen, I can easily do so. With Screen Builder, I've saved myself countless hours of time building out and wiring up the basics of my app. Like I said, I think you're going to love it. Now, before we wrap up, you might recall that I did say that I had 2 tidbits to share, and I've only shared 1 so far, the demo itself. Thanks for keeping me honest. The second item is that as of today, we are launching a private beta for Screen Builder. And as a part of this beta, you'll have a chance to get a closer look at what we're working on, to speak with me and other PMs about the new feature, and best of all, to get hands-on with Screen Builder before anybody else. If that piques your interest and you'd like to sign up for inclusion in our Screen Builder private beta, head on over to this link right here to sign up. All right, well, that's all for me. I hope you're as excited about all the new goodies in the Telerik platform as well as what's coming in 2015 as we are. Back to you, Todd.
We've seen a lot of very cool things today. New device cloud testing in the Telerik platform, a lot of improvements across App Builder, new push notifications, and a very cool sneak peek at something that's just around the corner, the new Screen Builder functionality. It's going to dramatically accelerate a lot of your application development within the platform. And this is just a tip of the iceberg for the things we've been shipping. We mentioned a number of other things: native script shipping in private beta today, coming next year, responsive images, iOS 8 support, the plugins marketplace, analytics dashboard, the new Dynissimo app. Remember to go check that out. There's all kinds of improvements coming through the Telerik platform, and this really is just the beginning. We're very excited about what we have on the roadmap for 2015. And if you start building apps, the Telerik platform now, or for those of you already building apps, I think 2015 is going to be a very exciting year for the things you can do, accelerating your productivity, building apps that reach every screen. And to make it an even easier decision, exclusive to you today for joining us in this webcast, we're offering you a 25% discount for annual subscriptions to the Telerik Platform Professional Edition. You'll receive those codes in the follow-up email so that they'd go to just you, those of you that attended. And it's an extra thank you for taking time to join us today, and of course, extra incentive for you to jump in, start using the platform, start building that next great app for you or for your company, and use the holiday time coming up. It's a great time to learn something new, great time to check out the Telerik platform. And before we wrap up for today, I want to kind of put a face on all the people that come together to make what we looked at today a reality. On the screen here are just a few of the faces at Telerik that really contribute to make this happen. Over 100 faces directly involved in product marketing, product management, engineering, all required to make the Telerik platform and the huge pieces of it come together and be a reality for you. So from me to them, a big thank you for all of their work this year, making the Telerik platform what it is. And from them, on my behalf to you, thank you for adopting the Telerik platform and trusting Telerik, continuing to trust us to help you build your next great app. We look forward to partnering with you in 2015 and through the rest of this year and seeing the great things that you'll build. And on that note, there's only one more thing left to do, and that is for you to go start building some incredible apps today. Start or continue at telerik.com/platform. We really appreciate the hour of your time you spent with us today. We wish you all the best of luck in the raffle. You can watch for the winners and follow-up emails, and we'll, of course, post names on our blogs and social media accounts. For now, though, we will transition into a live Q&A. We're going to spend as much time as we can, about 10 minutes really, until they'll shut us off here, answering your questions live, and we'll follow up with many of the ones we can afterwards. Thank you all once again for attending, and to our on-demand viewers on YouTube, thanks for watching. We hope you'll join us next year and another webcast to look at what's new in the Telerik platform.